Greetings, fellow book lovers, and welcome back to Colin's Corner. I apologize, guys. It has been a little bit since my last video. I usually try to get at least one video out per week, but life as it is has been super crazy, and I've been trying to participate in a couple of chats just to keep the ball rolling a little bit. And with today's video, it's going to be a super short video, I think. It's a tag video. It's the All About Titles tag, and I was tagged by Ben over at Books with Bengus Khan to do this one. It seemed really fun, so I'm going to hop on this tag trend. But before we get into the video, we of course have to go over the answer from the last video's Comedy with Colin segment, where I asked you guys the joke, what did one plate say to the other? The answer? Dinner's on me. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get on with this tag. Now, I have the prompts pulled up here. I'm not going to talk too much about each of these books, as I think the point of the video is just to use the title of a book that I have on my shelves to answer the tag question. So without further ado, question number one is a book with a one-word title. Now let me grab it here. We have got scouring my shelves. I came up with Prey by Michael Crichton. Now, I have not read any Crichton. This is the only Crichton that I own. I would eventually like to try Jurassic Park, as I loved growing up watching those movies, but I found Prey in my local Goodwill when I was just kind of browsing around. So I picked this one up because I've heard a lot of good things about Crichton in general, and it fills the bill for a one-word title. Question number two is a title with a phrase in it. So I picked Finders Keepers by Stephen King. This is just a phrase that reminds me of my childhood in a way. You know, just being in elementary school and you pick something up on the playground and it's some fun little toy that some kid won or brought from home, and you know, you go Finders Keepers, or you hear somebody pick up your toy and you go and they go Finders Keepers. You're like, oh, come on, man, that was mine. So that's just a phrase that I always kind of associate with my childhood. And when I saw the title of this, the final installment in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, I thought it would be a perfect answer for a title with a phrase in it. Question number three is a book with a sentence in the title. So there's a lot of books with sentences in the title, but I decided to go with a book I haven't read yet. A lot of these are books that I haven't read yet, but Something Wicked This Way Comes. This is a really cool edition that's circusy that I got from Barnes & Noble. I know I've read some Bradbury at some point in English class. I read Fahrenheit 451 at some point. I don't remember a lot of it. It's something that I would like to revisit. Something Wicked This Way Comes is definitely a book that I want to read. I've heard extremely good things about it. How could I not? It's Ray Bradbury. But yeah, this one fit exactly for a book with a title that is a sentence. Question four is a book with an unusual word in the title. I don't know how unusual this word is, but it is a word that I don't hear very often used, so I went with it. This was one of my Book of the Month picks, and by an author named Peng Shepherd. It's called The Cartographers. Pretty cool cover and a really interesting title. I wouldn't assume a novel about cartographers would be all that exciting, but I read the premise and it sounded really cool. A cartographer, if I'm not mistaken, is a map maker. So I don't hear it used. You hear the word map used, map designer, map creator, but the actual term cartographers is something that I don't hear or see even written very often. So I thought that would be a fun pick for this prompt. Next up for number five, we have a book with a name in the title. That was an easy pick for me because I knew I had this one on my shelf. It is, I believe, the 9th Discworld novel. And this is called Eric. I mean, how could I not pick that? I've obviously got other books in here that have names in the titles, but this one just seemed funny, just like a kind of generic American name, just Eric as the title. So no idea what it's about, what sub-series of Discworld this one follows, but I really thought that, you know, hey, I've got a book called Eric. This might be the only time I get to use it in a prompt like this. Question number 6 is a book with a made-up word in the title. That one I chose Duma Key by none other than the king himself. This is, spoiler alert, one of the books in my top 10 Stephen King video. But Duma Key, obviously the Florida Keys are a real place, and King, I don't know if he still owns a house or did at one point in Sarasota. So he's familiar with the geography of Florida, and I think he just kind of used it to base one of his fictional places around, kind of like he does with Derry or Castle Rock, and he named it Duma Key. So it's a story that basically takes place in Florida, but the town of Duma Key, the Key of Duma, is fictional. Fantastic book, by the way. Very heavily slept on Stephen King book. If you have not read this one and you want to just kind of go out on a limb and try something you haven't heard a lot of regarding Stephen King, check out Duma Key. Question 7, a book with a pun in the title. I believe Ben actually picked the same exact book for this prompt, but I'm going to have to go with Fool's Errand. Come on, buddy. Will you focus? There we go. Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. This is one that I read recently in my quest through the realm of the Elderlings, and it's a great title, but it is a little more serious than somebody might be when they use the term Fool's Errand. The errand in this book is rather important, so the irony of it being titled Fool's Errand, I have, come to really enjoy. So it also fit this answer perfectly. Question 8. A book with a title that describes it well. Knew this one as soon as I read the prompt. Let's see if I always have trouble getting the camera to focus on this version of these books, but we're going to go with it, see if it works. That's A Storm of Swords. Book 3 of A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. If there is a book that is certainly a Storm of Swords, it's this. There could not be a more perfect title for a book than A Storm of Swords for this book. Also, if you haven't read it yet, read it. This book blew my mind. Question number 9. A book with a title that does not describe it well. We're going back to Robin Hobb, where it all started with, come on, move your grubby little sausages, Assassin's Apprentice. Not a great title for a book. Once you read the book, that makes more sense, but it is not, if you just saw a book titled Assassin's Apprentice in the bookstore or heard about Assassin's Apprentice, you might think of a book with a lot of high intensity, a lot of action, a lot of killing, a lot of, I don't know, just nasty, secretive missions, and there's kind of some of that with this, but not really. It's not a very accurate representation of what this book and even the entire Farseer trilogy is really about. And I know there's plenty of titles that I could have picked for this, but before I started the Realm of the Elderlings, I always read Assassin's Apprentice, the title, and I had this notion of what I thought it could be like, and it didn't meet those expectations at all. Not saying that that's a bad thing, it just was very different than what I thought I was going to get. So I'm going to go with Assassin's Apprentice, Book 1 of the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. And the last prompt, guys, is going to be a booktube channel with an amazing name. Of course, I had to bend the rules a little bit here, because if you give me a chance to shout out some of my friends, I'm going to do it. So I picked 3 channels that I've always really liked their names. The first is going to be StoryTube. That is Carlos and Yolanda. If you guys haven't checked them out, they are a fellow class of 2023 booktube channel. They are so much fun, and their relationship with each other and their relationship with reading just seeps through their videos. You can tell how much they truly enjoy reading and talking about the stuff that they are reading about. The second channel that I want to mention is a guy that I've been following on here for a long time, although don't have a ton of interactions with and would potentially like to change that, is Bryce over at Shelf Centered. I've always really loved that name. I think it's perfect for a booktube channel, and if you've watched any of Bryce's videos, it's funny, it fits his personality, his funny sense of humor, so I've always really appreciated that title, that name for a booktube channel. And last but not least, I'm going to shout out Chris over at A Fictional Escapist. I think that that is just a really fitting name for a channel that touches on a lot of fantasy, and specifically for Chris, although this is not indicative based on his name, but he does a tremendous job of shouting out a lot of and reviewing a lot of self-published and indie published authors on his channel. So if you guys have not seen or viewed any videos by these awesome creators, I'm going to link them down in the description of this video. Go and check them out, subscribe to them, show them some love, tell them where you are coming from over on Colin's Corner. But that is going to do it for the All About Titles tag for me today. Before we go, not so fast, we of course have to do Comedy with Colin, and today's joke, guys, is going to be what washes up on tiny beaches. If you think you know the answer, drop it down in the comments below. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this video. I am going to work on getting more videos out on a more regular basis again now that I am kind of settled back in from the wedding, and life's just kind of been crazy right now, so it's just been something that's kind of fallen through the cracks a little bit for me, but I aim to amend those actions. So be on the lookout for some more videos coming up very soon. I hope you're all enjoying what you're currently reading, and remember, you're always welcome in Colin's Corner.